Hello guys and chocolate lovers. Today we go in Portugal to see wow. Wow is a common word to say something super, but in Portugal it is something more. Now you can see with Pedro. Here we go. Enjoy. Hello guys, we are back with our Choco Zone Podcast, and in the last episodes we have seen chocolate makers, chocolatier, we have seen the founder of International Chocolate World, influencer, people that plan the best chocolate festival around the world. But chocolate is an amazing world in which there are also some special company that work in different sections, and they work also with chocolate. And this time we have Pedro Araujo, that is he could explain to us. He is the chocolate maker, but he is also the project manager of a wonderful company. Hello, Pedro. How are you?
Hi Umberto, how are you? Hi Giuseppe, how are you?
Pedro, how are you doing?
Good, good.
So, tell us
Oh,
about.
I will explain the project, and
Great.
before explaining the project, I will explain a bit of the company.
Yeah.
So I work for the Flatgate Partnership, which is a company, a port wine company, that it's based in Porto, Portugal, obviously, which has more than 3 centuries of existence. We were founded 327 years ago. We own several port brands. Among them, we got the most iconic Taylors, we got Fonseca, we got Croft. And some 20 years ago, we went also into the hotels business, and we are specialized in luxury hotels. We've got the Yateman Hotel here in Porto, which is considered one of the best Vinic hotels in the world. So it's a 5-star luxury hotel with a 2 Michelin star restaurant. And some 7 to 10 years ago, our CEO, Mr. Adrian Bridge, decided to transform the old warehouses of port wine. In the old days, all of the warehouses of port were in the city center. Nowadays, it's impossible to have big lorries coming in and out of city center, so most of the warehouses are empty. And because we are a port company, we have a lot of warehouses. Just to give you an idea, we are talking the world of wine as it is, as 55,000 square meters in the city center. And this is not all. Okay, we have more to expand. Okay, so
Wow.
so far we have done, the world of wine is divided in 3 phases, and chocolate is phase number 3. But we have projects for another 7 phases. So we have a lot of warehouses in the city center, and it's impossible to have lorries coming in and out. So our CEO, Mr. Adam Bridge, decide to create the wow. What is the wow? It's the world of wine. It's what we call cultural block in the city center. So we have 6 museums and 9 restaurants, plus a zone dedicated to stores, and the wine school, and also a chocolate academy. So all of this happens in the wow. And the museums, we got the wine experience, obviously, the cork experience. We've got a museum that we called Prata. Prata means Porto region across the ages. Basically, it's an history museum dedicated to the city of Porto across the ages. And we got the fashion museum, because this part of Portugal, like the north of Italy, the north of Portugal is where the textile industry is, and where all the factories for the textile are. So we decided to create a fashion museum. We also have Mr. Bridge collects drinking glasses, drinking vessels. So he has more than 1,000 glasses as a private collection. The oldest one is more than 9,000 years old, and our pièces de résistance are the goblets from that were used to toast when Napoleon was defeated. So we have more than 1,000 glasses to expose, and obviously, and for me, the most important one, chocolate. So I was the project manager that developed the whole of the restaurants, the nine restaurants, and the chocolate museum, as well as the chocolate factory and the chocolate brand. So
Pedro,
yes,
despite of what you are describing, and it seems such a big company, but am I mistaken if I say that your attitude, your approach to chocolate is more artisanal than industrial?
it's totally. You're correct. You're very correct. It's totally artisanal. So the company only entered into chocolate when they hired me 4 years ago. So and our approach is we as like all other products we are at the top end of the market. So we don't make mass market products. We are always at the top end, at the high end of the markets and all of the segments, and that's not different in chocolate. So we make, our idea was to develop a chocolate museum that tells all the story about cacao and the importance of cacao into chocolate and how important it is. So I've traveled around the world to pick the best cacaos, to videotape and to film in order to show in the museum all of this. And the chocolate we make, it's not volume. We have an output capacity of, let's say, around 20 tons a year at the most. So, and it's bin to bar, and it's a small quantity, and it's quality above all. It's quality above quantity.
And what about you? I mean, as a chocolate maker, as experience and knowledge about chocolate, how can you describe yourself?
I'm going to tell you a bit about myself. I wasn't born like anybody else. I wasn't born into the chocolate world. I was a chef. I'm a chef by formation, like many chocolate makers in Europe. Almost everybody started as a chef. And then we fell in love, and I'm not different. It's not different with me. I was a chef. I for more than 20 years. And then I did a lot of consulting in hotels and restaurants, in projects,
and then you met the chocolate.
And chocolate found me because 10 years ago I developed an hotel and another museum, a chocolate museum, a much smaller project. And that's when I found chocolate. So I usually say that chocolate found me, and I fell in love with chocolate. Then I start studying and cacao and chocolate and bean to bar chocolate and every chocolate in all its faces that it has. And that's why I found chocolate. Well, it found me.
I see. But do you sell only in the place in Porto where there is the wow, I guess, shop perfect, or everywhere in Portugal?
We obviously sell in all our stores in the WOW, but we also sell outside. We sell to other stores in Portugal. We are already selling in Madrid, and we are negotiating with an importer from Russia and another one from Switzerland. So obviously the idea is to
everywhere,
sell everywhere to whoever is willing to buy our chocolate and recognizes our chocolate as a good product. There's all euros are good euros. So
which is the brand that you use for your chocolate?
Our brand it's called Vinte Vinte.
2020.
2020, and this is we got four segments. So I'll start with the basic entry. So we got the classic. The classic segment, which is basically four types of chocolate. We got dark 70, a dark 58, then we've got milk and white, okay, and that's the classic. Then we've got
Which is the origin that of the chocolate
this
that you
is for the classic. I use Ghana.
Okay.
This is the
Okay.
classic.
So for Astero, okay?
Yeah, yeah. So this is Ghana, and with the same chocolates that I make the classic, I also make the fusion. And basically, fusion, the name says it all. It's chocolate with something fused in. So I got dark chocolate with salt, got dark chocolate with mint, with chilies, milk chocolate with hazelnut, and white chocolate with berries. Okay. And it's the same chocolate. So I use the Ghana chocolate to make these fusions. Then the medium high segment, it's what I call cacao intensity. So basically, and you can see that here. So it goes up and up and up and up and up. So we start at 45 from Venezuela, going up, 55 Uganda, 65 DR, 75 Nicaragua, 85 Madagascar, and then 100% from Peru. In this case, is Marañón, which is,
Okay.
it's very exquisite.
How long did it take to develop all these variety of?
A lot.
Well, more or less, I'm a new chocolate maker. I'm a small artisan. I want to enter the business. How long have I considered to be ready?
It's I don't know. Honestly, I can tell you, because I did between, I was doing everything at the same time. I was managing the project of the museum, writing all the contents, and the museum is 4,000 square meters, and I wrote every single word. I videotaped every single image. I went to Nicaragua, I went to Saint May Príncipe, I went to Mexico and to Guatemala, and I was, building the museum, building the factory, developing the recipe. So I was doing everything at once. I can tell you this. I don't know, it took me more than a year to do all, but I was doing all. I made more than 400 trials to come up with these 6 chocolates.
Wow.
Okay? So more than 400. Okay, so it took me quite a lot. It was painful but pleasure as well. Okay,
And this is usual. If you are a chocolate maker, you can avoid this part of the job. You have to test.
it is what it is. You have to try. You try and try and try, and you taste and taste, and that's the fun part. Honestly, that's it takes time and it takes a lot out of you. But it's the fun part. That's the fun part, because you get to try very different things. I've got a cacao in my warehouse from Indonesia that I got a lot in my mind. When I ordered, I tasted the cacao, and the cacao is very exquisite, very smoked. It's very smoky, and I say, okay, my market is not ready for this, so I need to come up with a product that the market will accept it. And I'm developing a product because do you know what goes really, really well with port wine apart from chocolate? Cheese. So what I'm developing is a product that combines the port, the cheese, and the cacao or the chocolate made with the cacao from Indonesia, because it's so smoked. So and that's the fun part. It's really, really hard working, but that's the fun part.
According to this, is there a chance to get? According to you and your attitude to the chocolate, is there a way to take a bean that is not, as you said, the potential customer are not used or will not be ready for that bean, and change it in something that is more acceptable? Is this worthwhile, or is not in the bean to bar concept?
No, I like a challenge. I love challenges. So obviously there are things that are more challenging than others. And I love a good challenge. If I understood your question correctly, I think it's worthwhile. The fight. So I could have said, okay, I'll just forget these 400 kilos of cacao from Indonesia because the market is not ready for it. Okay, but I think we as chocolate makers have the responsibility to I usually say, to spread the word and evangelize, to teach people step by step. Obviously,
Exactly. Yes.
if I make the chocolate I like to eat, nobody will buy it. Okay, because
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we have step by step. We have to teach people. Okay, so we don't have to make a big change at once, but step by step you will change the customer, and you will
Yeah.
teach the customer. So
Yeah.
And this is the difference between the chocolate maker, the bean to bar crafter, and the commercial, the industrial. Yeah, yeah. According to you, can you explain more about the differences between these two maker? That
Well, basically, the process is basically the same, but the approach is radically different because, we taste the bean and we take the chocolate out of that bean. That's what bean to bar makers do. Industrials, they sell brands, no matter what, it's no matter where the cacao comes from, it's always the same thing. At the end, they are selling a brand. Okay, so that's, in my opinion, that's the most radical difference. It's that, we respect the raw material. We take the chocolate out of the bean. They don't care for the bean, they care for the product and the margin. Obviously, at the end of the day, we all have to make profit, make no
Sure.
mistake about it. But there's a way to make a profit respecting the product and making a good product. Okay, and
Exactly.
and for me and as for all the chocolate makers, respecting the product and taking the best out of the product in order to give it to the final consumer. It's the challenge part. And big brands, no matter what at the end of the day, they roast their cacao until it's totally burned. They put a bit of sugar, a bit of this, a bit of that. Nobody really knows what they do because they never tell you the whole truth, do they? And that's it. It's the profit,
Yeah.
the end flavor that counts, and nothing
Uh,
else.
And
anyway,
they keep also the relationship with the farmers. That in the industrial it is numbers, the farmers. While with chocolate maker, I have a lot of
Connect.
friends that they stay for
It's true. So,
1 month with the farmers, and so
This
yeah,
chocolate, this chocolate's made with cacao from Finca La Rioja, which is my most exquisite chocolate. I spent 2 weeks with him there. I know him personally. He's my friend.
yeah.
So we had this interaction. Same thing with cacao from Nicaragua. I know all the guys from Nicaragua. I know the farmer in Huaslala in the north of Nicaragua. So you have this connection. And although I don't know all the farmers, I know the names, I just don't know him personally. So it's, you have this straight connection to the farmer, which is very, very important. Very, very important.
yeah. Well, I guess that for you as for us, we grew up with commercial chocolate, basically. I mean, when I was
Yeah.
a child, I was educated, that was chocolate, okay. When you first met the bean to bar chocolate,
that changed my life.
can you tell us which was the first
Yeah,
moment, the first
yes,
time you
every
make your
single
own
time.
bean to bar?
Every single time I tell this story, I always get goosebumps, because I remember the chocolate that changed my life. It was more than 20 years ago in London, and I tasted El Pedregal, and I said, wow, this is totally different from what I know. Okay, so this was the chocolate that woke me up. Okay, and I start thinking, okay, so chocolate, it's not all the same. Okay, because as you said it very well, we all grew up, at least our generation, we all
Yeah.
grew up eating commercial chocolate. It was the only thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are used to it. We are used to it.
And that chocolate changed my life because I woke up. Okay, and about 10 years ago, I started that project with chocolate, and I started getting interested and more interested into chocolates. And a couple of friends of mine that are chocolate makers in Portugal, the first two bean to bar chocolate makers, they said to me, you should start making. So I bought my equipment, I bought a little Spectra, and I ordered some beans, and I started making trials. That's how I started.
But
I started
this was in your home?
in my home. I started making, I wanted to explore. 10 years ago, I wanted to explore. So, I bought my Spectra, I bought some beans, and I started making, and I would say a couple of months ago, a Spanish journalist asked me, "What's your favorite laboratory?" And I said, "My kitchen," because it's where I usually make my best inventions. Okay.
Great.
So, changing the side, okay, let's talking about us as a consumers. Okay, the average consumer, how is the knowledge? We know that we need some way, some extent, educate, our palate and our taste, the consumer palate and taste. But nowadays, in our current time, how is the knowledge of the average consumer, chocolate eater?
Okay, it's the world. The world is at a very different levels of development. So I would say, when in Europe and in the United States, Europe consumes about half of the chocolate in the world, and I would say that palate-wise, the chocolate flavor is a bit more developed in Europe. There's a very important segment in the United States that is also very developed, but those are two different levels, and most of the rest of the world there's no real knowledge of the chocolate. And even in those, in my experience, from all my travels and from all the people I've known, obviously nobody, it's hard to find people at our level of flavor. It's not like wine. I hope that one day we'll become like wine. Where a lot of people understand and talk about wine. We are not there yet. I will reckon that will take at least 2 decades, to get there, because you need mass. You need people to start talking. It's a lot better now than it was 10 years ago, and it only gets better. But people are just now starting to find out about the differences and the nuances from the varieties and from the chocolate makers, and I can use, I use the same cacao beans as Mark Schimmer from Crack uses, and my chocolate, it's totally different from his chocolate, and it's the same bean from the same year, So people are just now starting to realize those little nuances. So it will take time. It's not there yet. I think we'll have, and our generation, we have a very important role to play in this in order to teach people, but we have to be patient. We will get there. We are getting there, but it will take time. For instance, in Portugal has a low consumption of chocolate per capita. We're talking about roughly just a bit over 2 kilos per year, which is very, very, very low.
Yeah.
Very, very low. And most of it is the normal industrial brands that you get everywhere in the world. But people are starting to awake, like they did in Germany, like they did in England, like they did in Italy. So the market is growing increasingly fast, like everywhere in Europe. It will take time, but we are in a good path. I would reckon.
It's more in Portugal. Milk chocolate or dark chocolate, which is the high.
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate,
Yeah, Portuguese people like dark chocolate in comparison to milk or white. And that has to be with history. The most iconic Portuguese chocolate brand, it's a dark chocolate brand. So that it's in it's in the history. Okay, so that's why dark chocolate.
You talked before about the wine, and wine and chocolates are similar. Also, if wine has a long history, the chocolate could not have. What are, according to you, the similar things between?
I come from a wine company, especially a port. We only do port, and the English got a saying that basically says, "Port and chocolate are a match made in heaven," and I do believe that. For instance, the scientific name of cacao is Theobroma cacao, food of gods.
Yeah.
There's an expression that says that the wine is the nectar of God. So it's like combining the nectar and the food of God. So they were born to be together. They were born to be together. Even in the harvest process, there's so many similar things. grapes are fermented just like cacao is fermented, so you got movements by batonnage like in wine. So there's a lot of similar things in chocolate and wine. And then when it comes to taste, it's also very similar. And when it comes to pairing the both, special with port wine, it's an incredible world when it comes to I would say that when it comes to chocolate and port, there's no right or wrong. It's always perfect. It's always perfect. But obviously you can take an approach on you could pair the fruity chocolate with the fruity wine. You can pair the more bitter chocolate with the more astringent wine, because what chocolate has that wine doesn't, and that's why they are so good when pairing, is it has cocoa butter, so that will protect your tongue, for and that will enhance the fruity flavors in the wine. So that's why it's so magical, and they are very, very, very similar from the start to the end.
Can we make a quick and short game? I saw you have a bottle of wine there. Can you choose showing us the bottle of wine, one of the bars, chocolate bars that you have, and can you teach us why they are a good pair? I mean, which kind of bar with that bottle of, yeah. So why you think, can you teach us how to drink that wine and eat that chocolate?
Okay, so like in chocolate, I got the Grand Cru from Finca La Rioja, and our LBV, late bottle vintage for 2014. A vintage wine, and this is a vintage wine with what I consider a vintage chocolate. So a vintage port wine, it's a very fruity wine. Okay. And with high sugar content. So it's a wine developed, not all years are vintage, so you need a committee to declare it vintage. And 2014 was a vintage year. So we made the vintage wine. It has a very strong dark red color, and it's extremely fruity and sweet. It's a wine made to last for 100 years. So a 2014 vintage, I would reckon it should be good to drink. You can drink it straight away, but when it's aged, it's better because it loses some of the sugar and it gets more tawny, it gets more the dried fruits. But as it is, okay, how do you pair it? Okay, it's simple. Once you know it, obviously, this chocolate in particular is also extremely fruity, okay, and it is extremely complex, just like the wine. But one thing that doesn't have as much as the wine has is sugar. When you make port wine, we start fermenting the grapes, and we stop the fermentation while the wine is sweet. That's why it's so sweet. And we stop the fermentation by adding grappa. To it. Okay, so that's why it has 20% of alcohol and is still extremely sweet. Okay, so, and this is a 70% chocolate. Okay, 70% cocoa content chocolate, made from a variety that is also very fruity. So how do you taste? How do you pair? You put the chocolate in your mouth, you let it melt. Okay. Then you sip a little bit of wine, and what the chocolate will do, it will protect your tongue for the sugary and of the wine, and what you will feel is the fruity you will feel the fruit in the wine. Okay, so it becomes like complete, because, and what you realize in the chocolate, in the other hand, is that you get those more healthy notes of the chocolate, because the alcohol will push out the healthy notes of the cacao. So you get the fruit notes of the chocolate adding to the fruit notes of the wine, and cocoa butter plays a very important role in this pairing. So great. That's why I think this is a very good pairing.
Oh, that's amazing. Lisa, you mentioned before the relationship between a chocolate maker, a Vinte Vinte chocolate maker, and the farmers. Okay, but nowadays, maybe now less than before, but it was quite challenging for someone that wanted to start a business to meet the cocoa farmer. How was your experience? I mean, how you met them, and and how you keep the contact with them?
Have an added responsibility towards the chocolate bean to bar, and especially towards the farmer, because we have the responsibility of taking those beans, paying a fair price, okay, and making a good chocolate, and teach people how to eat proper chocolate. So, and usually when I make workshops, I always stop at the supermarket, and I take the cheapest chocolate that's in the supermarket, and usually it's always below €1. If no matter where you are in Europe,
Yeah.
it's always below €1. And I'll take the chocolate, and I'll go to my audience and says, this chocolate cost me €1 at the supermarket. Okay, you take the tax out, you take the packaging, you take the foil, you take the margin of the supermarket, the margin of the distributor, the margin of the guy that makes the company that makes the chocolate. How much do you think the farmer will get at the end? Okay. Nothing. That's what he's going to get. Nothing. So we have this responsibility. That's why it's so important to me. It's extremely important to me and to my brand to put this connection between the end customer and the farmer. And if you go to the site, in the site, in the vintevinte.pt chocolate, I tell all the beans I use and all the farms I use, so people get to know and may look it up in the internet. And if they ask me, and we have already requests, I really like this chocolate, could you please tell me more about the bean, what it comes from, and we have that responsibility,
Yeah.
and that's why I keep telling to my team, I always tell to my team, we have another responsibility. We need to be, to take the flag, the bean to bar flag, and the good chocolate flag, and spread the word.
And do you remember how did you get in contact with your first farmer? Where did you find it?
I was, as I told you, I fell in love with chocolate, and I started making experiments, and I managed to convince my wife to go to St. Mary Príncipe on holidays.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not in Santo Domingo, but in Haiti.
No, Santo Mary Príncipe in Africa.
Santo Tomé, sorry. Okay.
Santo Mary, okay.
Okay.
And I went to the island of Príncipe, which is hidden. It's an Eden, on Earth. It's there.
Yeah.
So your wife, she was happy too.
So
She was happy.
Yeah.
She was at the beach, laying down, and I spent the whole week. I was there, okay, just talking to farmers and collecting cacaos from the trees,
You were already in this company, or it was before?
No, it was before. That was the first time I met farmers, and I took my holidays specifically without telling my wife. Don't tell her that, okay? She doesn't know. and I went to Santa Mary Príncipe just to have the chance to be in cacao farms and to talk directly to the farmer. Okay. Obviously, now in this company, my life is a lot easier, because I just have to pinpoint the farmer I want to go, and I go, basically.
So, which souvenir you bring at home? Normally, when you go in this island, you have
You buy some presents, some gift to take
and
back.
you had a big bag of cocoa
Of
beans.
cacaos. That's what I brought home. Yeah.
Okay, so the world of bean to bar chocolate, like we know, I could say that started from US quite 10 years ago, and now it is everywhere. Also, if it is so young, this movement. What is, according to you, the bean to bar? What will be the bean to bar within next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, I think that the movement will grow and solidify. It will become a lot more solid than it is, with ups and downs. That's a part of the process. But I think the movement it will definitely grow, and we'll see, hopefully. That's how I see it. I think a lot more brands will pop up. like all the movements in craft movements, like it was in beer, like it was in coffee, many of them it will disappear, but everybody it will play a role. Okay, so I think we'll see a lot, hundreds, probably thousands of new chocolate producers appearing. Some of them will fade away. It's part of the developing process, but all of them, with no exception, will play a very important role. I think, and on the other hand, people are very aware. People are, and I think the heavy industry is really afraid with the bean to bar movement. I remember last year I was at the ECA in a meeting in ECA, the European Coffee Association. Last meeting was here in Portugal, and they meet once every 3 years, and last year was here in Portugal. And I went there just to see with my own eyes what they are talking about. And I was there for 3 days, and every single day they were discussing origin. They are really terrified with the bean to bar movement. And you can see it in Nestle, for instance. They have developed this atelier line where they sell, they sell chocolate by the origin. So they don't know what to do with us. They know that we are eating, their big segment, and slowly by slowly we are eating.
Well, I have to tell you that when we first met during the chocolate class here in Milan, in FBM, I have to tell you that 80% of the attendees of that class turned into the chocolate makers.
80%. So 80%. That's, you see. So people, I think by the thousands, we will see thousands of new brands coming out, and the customer is a lot more aware. The customer wants what is good for him first of thing, So it's the conscience, and the other thing is social awareness. People want to know where the money goes to, okay? And that's a huge difference, because they don't really are willing to pay when they don't understand the value chain. So when they buy a chocolate or a wine or whatever from a huge company, the only thing they know is that company makes a huge profit, But the guy that produces it's something in wine. Look, we make wine. We are a wine company, okay? But what makes us different from all the other wine companies is we own our vineyards, okay? We don't buy grapes. We have farms. Simply, it's not possible to have cocoa farms in Europe, as you know. It's impossible. Okay, but it's not out of the equation to buy our own farm somewhere in the world to produce our own chocolate as we make wine. Okay, so making our own tree to bar chocolate. But the customer is ever more aware of the value chain, and that's a good thing. That's why I think the next 10 years we will see these big companies struggling to hold on to their share of the market, and the bean to bar to grow by the year. We're gonna grow and grow and grow until we are extremely considerable sized, and they will have to look at us as face-to-face competition.
Can we leave the message to the bean to bar chocolate makers? Don't fear the competition. Don't fear the growing numbers, because we are all
thank you for reminding me that. That's what Giuseppe just said is a very important thing. We are all in this together. It doesn't matter if I'm Vinte Vinte or if you are or whatever brand you are, okay? We are all in this together, and we only have to gain by sharing experiences.
Exactly.
So we have to share even more and more and more and more. We don't, in my opinion, it's a mistake to close myself inside my factory. Nobody comes in, and I will tell nobody. I have no problem in sharing with everybody what I do. It's only by sharing that we will gain more market, because our true competition are the guys that make bad chocolate, and those guys are the big industry. Exactly. We are in this together.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, Pedro, we thank you a lot for your time, and I think that we have to everybody that will see this episode will go soon in Portugal to know.
Everybody is invited. Everybody is invited.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We hope, Pedro, join and meet again and give such a big hug.
Sometime soon.
Yeah, we hope so. Really, this
Okay,
time.
thank you very much, Pedro.
Thank you, Pedro. Ciao.